أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. We will continue with the letter number 31 where Imam Ali alayhi salam gives his final advices to his son, the set of 27 advices that we have been discussing about. And today we will start from advice number 7 where Imam Ali alayhi salam says man akthara ahjara. So the translation says he who speaks much speaks nonsense. But when you look at what the word akthara means, so akthara is something that's kathir, something that's a lot, something that is in excess. So when the Imam says man akthara ahjara, the translation says one who speaks a lot speaks nonsense, but the word akthara is anything in excess. So the translation should have been whoever exercises anything in excess breaks away from the right course, moves away from the right course. Why? Because he exercised whatever he exercised beyond what it should have been exercised as. So it was a kind of extravagance, something done in excess. So if we look at examples of what can be done in excess, it is not necessary that whatever we are talking about doing in excess is something that's haram or something that's makruh. It's anything in excess. So everything needs to be done in moderation. There may be things that are halal to be done, but despite it being halal, once you do something in excess, it moves you away from the right course. So for example, spending lavishly. So if you're earning, you're allowed to spend, you're allowed to live by your status, but when you spend lavishly, then that moves you away from your focus in life. Or maybe sometimes time spent in worldly pleasures. So it's okay to spend time for relaxation. It's okay to spend time in worldly pleasures because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, خَلَقْتُ الْأَشْيَاءَ لِأَجْلِكَ, I have created everything for you so that it can serve you. وَخَلَقْتُكَ لِأَجْلِي, and I have created you for myself. So when I am so much indulged in things around me, those things that are supposed to serve me, it's okay to use them. But I'm so much deep down into having worldly pleasures and futile entertainments that they stop me from moving closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So because my purpose is, when Allah says khalaqtuka li ajli, I have created you for my sake. So if that purpose is not being served, then those things that are being done in excess are breaking me away, taking me away from my goal. So they may be halal endeavors, but they are wasting my time because my purpose in life is to move closer towards Allah. And because I'm doing these things which are halal, yes, which are okay to be done, yes, but they are done in so much excess that they stop me, they become a barrier between me and my goal in life. So when you look at this phrase number 7, man akthara ahjara, so majority of the commentators, they discuss about the speaking aspect only. So that is why the translation also says one who speaks in excess talks nonsense. So it is discussing only about the speaking aspect. Probably it is the most important aspect, and that is why the commentators have decided to limit their translation to only speaking. So if the Imam is warning against excessive speaking, then that means one should not speak that which one has no knowledge of or little knowledge of. We've already discussed that in the beginning part of the letter where Imam Ali alayhi salam tells us, where he says, Ya bunay, so oh my child, what does he tell us? Don't speak that which does not concern you. Don't speak something that you have no knowledge of. Confine your thinking to matters that are helpful to you, that he says in letter number 69. One who speaks excessive will be speaking without thinking. So it will lead to degradation and humiliation because you just want to speak, and then you don't think. So that will end up in humiliating you. So that is why anybody who speaks excessively is speaking nonsense. Imam Ali alayhi salam also says, Iyaka wa kathratul kalam. beware of having kathratul kalam, having lots of words, speaking lots of things. Stay away from it. Why? The beauty of any imam's words is that when you ask why, the very next phrase gives you the answer. So Imam says, Iyaka wa kathratul kalam. Stay away from using a lot of words, speaking a lot. Why? فَإِنَّهُ يُكْثِرُ الزَّلَلْ وَيُورِثُ الْمَلَلْ. Why? Because it increases your zalal, it increases your slips, it increases your shortcomings. وَيُورِثُ الْمَلَلْ, and it engenders boredom. So it's when you're speaking a lot of things, people around you are not really interested in listening to you. I mean, we have met people who will keep on talking and then you would feel like, come on, get over with it. So it's that kind of feeling that people don't want to listen to you. So it's engendering boredom. Why? Because it is kathratul kalam. So Imam says, Iyaka wa kathratul kalam, beware, stay away from lot of speaking. He also says, and this is really nice, he says, Ajibtu liman yatakallam bima la yanfa'u fi dunyahu. Ajibtu, I am surprised. When Imam is surprised, what is he surprised with? He says, Ajibtu liman yatakallam bima la yanfa'u fi dunyahu. I am surprised at that person who speaks that which is not going to give him any benefit in his dunya. Now, sometimes we speak to just impress people, or because I can speak well, so I have to speak. Where there's a discussion going on, I must put in my word because I know everything. I mean, this is a perception, yeah. So Imam says, "Ajibtu liman yatakallam bima la yanfa'uhu fi dunyahu." I'm surprised at somebody who speaks that which is not going to give him any benefit in this world. وَلَا يُكْتَبْ لَهُ أَجْرُهُ فِي آخِرَةٍ. And then even in the hereafter, there is no reward written for him. So for whatever he is speaking, there's no benefit in the dunya, there's no benefit, there's no reward written for him in the hereafter. So I'm surprised, then why does he need to talk? So there are people who, we have seen people who crack jokes, for example. I'm not saying cracking jokes is wrong. If you're doing it with the intention of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that mu'mineen will laugh and chill and relax kidogo, it's okay. But there are people who are jesters, so they don't really talk sense. So Imam says, I'm surprised at such people who talk where there's no benefit for them in the dunya, and then there's no ajr in the hereafter also. Then why do they need to talk? And Prophet Khidr, when he advised Prophet Musa, so we've all heard the narrative of Prophet Musa and Prophet Khidr, and how Prophet Musa salam accompanied Prophet Khidr salam, and that incident which is mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf. So Prophet Khidr advises to Prophet Musa, and he says, "La takunanna miktharam bin nutq mihdara." Don't ever be, ever, la takunanna. Don't ever be, that noon shadda is for tashdid. Don't ever do it. La takunanna. Don't ever be talkative and a prattler. Don't ever be a person of so many words and a person who talks idle things. Don't ever do that. فَإِنَّ كَثْرَةُ النُّطْقِ تَشِينَ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Why? Because too much of speaking disgraces the knowledgeable. Why? Because knowledgeable people are silent people. So when you speak too much, then it disgraces you. So if they are ulama and they are in a habit of just speaking and talking, this is talking about just being talkative or just being talking idle stuff, they disgrace the knowledgeable. وَتُبْدِي مَسَاوَى السُّخَفَاءِ. And also they show up the faults of foolish people. So if it's somebody foolish but he decides to keep quiet, then his foolishness is not going to be seen. But if it's somebody foolish and he decides to open his mouth and start talking and exposing his thoughts, then his foolishness is becoming evident in front of people. So Prophet Khidr advises Prophet Musa, do not ever be a talkative person and a person who talks idle stuff. Why? Because excessive speech disgraces the knowledgeable. Excessive speech, it shows up the faults of the foolish. So be silent. This is the advice of Prophet Khidr salam to Prophet Musa salam. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, Al-insan makhbu tahta lisanihi. A man is hidden under his tongue. Why? When you open your mouth, that's when people begin to know you. So choose your words wisely. Put your brain in gear before you put your mouth in action. So think, process in your brain what you want to speak. Is it really worthy of speech? Should I speak or not? Is it going to make me be disgraced? Is it going to give me humiliation? Or is it going to add value to what is happening? So where there is value being added, speak, it's good. But where it is idle talk, choose your words wisely. Put your brain in gear before you put your mouth in action. The eighth advice is وَمَنْ تَفَكَّرَ أَبْصَرَ. Whoever ponders perceives. So ponder, think, reflect. Islam always invites us towards thinking and reflection. It's not a blind faith. Islam does not encourage blind faith. We all may be Muslims by birth, but we need to be Muslims by choice also. And that is why Quran always asks us to ponder and reflect upon the verses and upon the signs around us. Those who ponder will perceive the truths of life, and they will know the path to take to become successful in this world and then the next, because they will be able to distinguish between the right and the wrong and make choices after knowing what is right and what is wrong. So they will abandon the wrong and pick up the right and move ahead towards the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because ya ayyuhal insan innaka kadhan ila rabbika innaka kadihun ila rabbika kadhan famulaqih. So they will pick the right stuff, walk the right path, and have their journey towards meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have already discussed before. So the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Baqarah verse number 219, كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Thus does Allah make clear to you the communications. Why? So that you may ponder. So it's an open invitation. The communication is clear, the signs are clear, the verses are clear, so that you may ponder. So this is verse number 219 of Surah Baqarah. A very similar verse of the same surah, verse number 266, where Allah says, كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. So there are so many verses in the Quran which talks about لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. So many verses. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-An'am, verse number 50, هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الْأَعْمَى وَالْبَصِيرُ. Are the blind and the seer equal? Would you put them on one scale? Somebody who can see and somebody who is blind, are they similar? أَفَلَا تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Do you not then think? So those people who are basir, those people who are seeing, those people who have insight, are those who think and who reflect. And those people who do not think and who do not reflect are a'ma, they are blind. So then Allah asks, هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الْأَعْمَى وَالْبَصِيرُ. Are the blind and the seer equal? No, they are not. Because there are those people who think, and there are those who just move ahead with life and spend no time in reflection. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, "Man akthar al-fikr fima ta'lam atqana ilmahu." Somebody who increases his thinking on what he already knows, he has already learned something, then that learning becomes proficient. That learning takes root in him. That learning goes deep down in his heart. Why? Because he has pondered over what he learns. So anything that we hear is new knowledge, is what we learn. Once we learn something, we should not just be scribbling points and closing books and saying, okay, thank you. We should be giving it more thought so that it registers well, it enters our heart. Once it enters our heart, it gets evident in our actions, and that is true learning. So Imam says, فِيمَا تَعْلَمْ أَتْقَنَ عِلْمَهُ. When he thinks about what he already knows, then that yaqeen becomes stronger. وَفَهِمَ مَا لَمْ يَكُنْ يَفْهَمْ. And whatever he was not understanding, those things will also start becoming clear to him. He will start understanding what he did not understand. Why? Because he spent time on thinking about stuff around him. So thinking is so important. Advice number 9, where Imam Ali alayhi salam says, قارن أهل الخير تكن منهم. Associate with people of virtue. أهل الخير, people of virtue. Associate with them, be near them. Why? Because you will become like them. You will become from them. You will also become a good doer. You will also become a virtuous person. And he says, وَبَايِنْ أَهْلُ الشَّرِّ تَبِنْ عَنْهُمْ. And keep away from people who are vicious. Why? Because then you will remain away from them. So if you associate with good people, with virtuous people, you will become virtuous. If you keep away from bad people, you're saving yourself from becoming bad. So this is advice number 9 from the last part. And Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, and we all know that a man is known by the company he keeps. So friends are people for life. They give you your recognition. People around you know you by knowing your friends. So a man is known by the company he keeps. Like, it's a common phrase, tell me who your friends are and I tell you who you are, or I tell you what you are. Why? Because people around you, if I know them, I may be knowing. If I take an example of somebody might send a proposal on my daughter, for example, and I ask someone, what kind of person is this? So I may be knowing that he's a person who prays, a person who fasts, he's a Muslim, all his actions are Islamic actions. And then someone comes up and says that, yeah, all that is true, but then his friends are druggists. What is the chance that I will agree to give my daughter's hand in marriage to such a person? I'm not even sure that he is a druggist. It's his friends are druggists. You will instantly start thinking, because if his friends are druggists, then maybe he is also a druggist, because you are known by the company you keep. So tell me who your friends are and I tell you what you are. The impact is there. When you pass by a garbage truck, that stench from the garbage truck will stick to you. And when you enter a perfume shop, you will come out being fragrant with perfume. So the impact of things around you, of people around you, attitude sticks. So when you are with people around you are good people, you're going to become good. And when the people around you are vicious, that is going to stick to you. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Man kana yu'min billah wal yawm al-akhir. Anybody who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the day of judgment. We all believe in Allah and the day of judgment, right? So the Prophet says, anyone who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the day of judgment, فَلَا يُؤَخِيَنَّ كَافِرًا. Then he will never, here also we see the word with nun shadda, that gives added weight. Surely indeed he is never going to be a brother to who? To a denier, to a kafir. He is never going to have a brotherly bond with a kafir. Anybody who believes in Allah and who believes in the day of judgment is never going to have a brotherly bond with a kafir. وَلَا يُخَالِطَنَّ فَاجِرًا. And he is never going to associate with an immoral person. Why? Because he believes in Allah and he believes in the day of judgment. So he knows that I am supposed to be doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants me to do. And then there is a final day of judgment where I will see the result of my sacrifices, the result of my good actions, the result of my qadh, my struggle. I will see it on the day of judgment. So he will not want to associate with immoral people. He will not want to have bonds with people who have denied Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he is a mu'min. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam says, Majalis al-Salihin, Da'iyat ila salah, gatherings of pious people, gathering of righteous people, gatherings of good people, give an invitation to goodness. So any gathering where there are good people sitting, they will invite people towards goodness, because goodness is what they will be discussing in their gatherings. In Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيَوْمَ يَعَضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ. And on that day, the lines are very popular. We read them in the month of Ramadan, also in the Munajat of Amirul Mu'minin. وَيَوْمَ يَعَضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ. And on that day, when the zalim, when the oppressor, so the oppressor would be in somebody who oppresses himself by sinning, by doing injustice to his own soul. So وَيَوْمَ يَعَضُّ الظَّالِمُ. And on that day, the oppressor, somebody who has sinned, will be eating his two hands. يَوْمَ يَعَضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ. He will be eating both his hands. So we have seen people who, when they are stressed or when they are anxious or when they're worried, they would start biting their nails. We all have seen that, yeah? People, anxious people, when in anxiety, they start biting their nails. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not say that on that day when people will bite their nails. No, that's something very small, biting nails. Anxiety and biting nails is something very small. He does not say that they will be biting their fingers. No, because biting fingers is also small compared to the day of Qiyamah. He does not say that they will bite their hand. He says they will be biting both their hands. وَيَوْمَ يَعَضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ. And on that day, when the oppressor will be biting on both his hands, يَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي. And he will say, oh, I wish. I wish what? I wish, ya laytani ittakhadtu ma'a rasuli sabila. I wish I had taken the path of your apostle. I wish I would have taken the path of your messenger. Ya waylata, woe be unto me. Laytani lam attakhidh fulanan khalila. Woe be unto me. I have not taken Fulan as my friend. So this remorse, this regret on the day of judgment is because of taking a wrong friend. Why? Because the wrong friend, if he is vicious, his viciousness is going to stick to me. And then there will be remorse on the day of judgment to such an extent that people will be biting both their hands and saying that I should not have taken this person as my friend. Instead, I wish I had followed the path of the messenger. Then I would not be in a state of regret today. That brings us to the end of today's session. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.